So next what we'll look at is motion, which now involves both translation as well as rotation. Right? And before looking at how to analyze this, I would like to state a general theorem, which is also known as Taylor's theorem, and this is basically regarding the rotation and translational motion of an object or a rigid body. Right? And what this theorem says is that any arbitrary motion, effectively what this means is that maybe we have a rigid body which is tumbling down uncontrollably in space, right? So that we cannot actually say that at any given instant how it's translating and how it's rotating. However, what the theorem states is any arbitrary motion of a rigid body, so that's the condition. And we already defined what is a rigid body. It means that the relative position vectors between any two parts of the body are not going to change. Right? So any arbitrary motion of a rigid body can be described as translation of its center of mass. Right? So this random tumbling motion can be described as translation of its center of mass about or with reference to certain point of origin or the point of observation, plus rotation of this body about its center of mass. Right? So translation of the center of mass and rotation about center of mass, so we can always describe a complete motion in terms of translation of its center of mass as well as rotation of its about its center of mass, and that is the Church theorem. And of course, if you are interested in the proof of this, you can look in the book of Kleppner, where this proof is given to some detail. However, here we are not bothered with the proof. We'll basically analyze the problems or try to show that this actually holds true for all the cases that we are considering. Okay. So after stating this, now what we can do is we can try to see, for example, for a general rigid body, let us say how do we write angular momentum and look at the results of this theorem in that sense. So let's say angular momentum of a rigid body which we anyway wrote down. So let's say this is my coordinate axis, right? And I have some random rigid body, random shaped rigid body. Right? So we are not considering the particular one. And right now all I am interested in describing the coordinates. So let us say that this rigid body, which has a total mass m, right, and it has a center of mass somewhere. So let's say this is my center of mass, right. So we can describe motion of any one part of this body and then sum over it to get the angular momentum, the way we did it earlier for system of particles for an object. So let's say we select a jth point or a jth mass element on this rigid body, and then let's define its position vector. So we can define its position vector at rj, and then of course the corresponding velocity vector will be rj dot, right. We can also define with respect to the same origin position vector of the center of mass, and we'll call it r. Sorry. And now we can also define another position vector which is for the jth particle, right, with reference to the center of mass, and let's call it rj prime. Right. And now we know the relation between these, so we can always analyze motion either with respect to this origin or taking center of mass as my origin. Okay, so now let's say what is the angular momentum, general angular momentum for the jth particle. We know from definition we can write it as rj cross mj Rj dot, where Mj is then the mass of this jth particle. So jth particle with mass Mj, and what this means is sum over Mj is equal to total mass of the body, right? Okay, if this is the case, then I can also write down the total angular momentum of this rigid body by summing over all these jth elements. So Rj cross Mj Rj dot, right? Okay. Now let's make a change from my inertial coordinate system to the center of mass coordinate system or coordinate frame, right? And for that we know that we can write down, looking at that vector diagram, we can write down the position vector Rj in terms of position vector of the center of mass and position vector related to the center of mass. Putting it back here, now we have sum over j. So cross Mj, and Rj dot will be, again, if we differentiate it with respect to time, will be velocity of the center of mass, so R dot, and Rj prime dot. So R dot cross Rj prime dot. Right? And now all we have to do is expand this cross product and then look at different terms. So let us do that. So sum over j, R cross Mj R dot, this is one term, then sum over j, Rj cross Mj this into this, then this into this, R dot, plus now this into this, so sum over j, R cross Mj Rj prime, plus the last term, which is then sum over j, Rj cross Mj Rj prime. And I'm sorry, this is Rj prime here, so we just replace Rj prime, and Rj prime. Okay, so these are the four terms, right? Now, firstly, what we'll do is we'll look at these. I mean, we have to look at the significance of these terms individually. So let us take this one. Let us take this one, and this term. Then I'll write it as well. Okay, let's call it 1, 2, 3. And 4, right? And let me write down this term 2, right, as so sum over j. Now since Mj is a constant, I can take it on either side of this cross product, cross R dot, right? So we want to see what this term means, right? And for that, let us look at what this means. So in that sense, now what is Mj Rj prime, right? This is nothing but sum over j, Mj, and Rj prime we know from here. So we can write Rj prime as Rj minus R, right? And if we write it out like this, then we can still expand this. So we can extend the summation over both the terms. So Mj Rj minus sum over j, Mj R, and this is nothing. So we know from definition of center of mass, so I can write down center of mass R. So we know how to write it. We write it Mj Rj over the total mass, sum over M. So this term is nothing but M R, this term. And what is this term? R is a constant. So sum over j, Mj is again basically M R, and that means this is 0, right? So what we have shown is that the second term will go to 0. If the second term goes to 0, which is because this Mj Rj prime goes to 0 uniformly, then mj rj dot prime is also going to go to 0, right? So this will also be 0 because this is uniformly 0. So in our angular momentum calculation, out of 4 terms, 2 terms do not contribute, right? So they can be taken out now, and now we can write down the angular momentum. Oh, I should not have wiped it, but anyway. So now we can write down the angular momentum L as sum over j r cross, I think, mj r dot plus the last term, which is then sum over j rj prime cross mj rj prime dot. Right? So this is my total angular momentum. And now what is this? So r is again the position vector of center of mass, constant. R dot is position vector of center of mass, velocity of center of mass. So the summation is only going to extend over this mj. So this will be then r cross m, and I can now write it here as, let's say, vcm, right? So this is my first term, and the second term is simply this, sum over j rj prime cross mj rj dot, and what this is? So this is, well, this is angular momentum of center of mass, right, about O, and this is the summation extends over. So this is the angular momentum of the object about the center of mass, right? So the total angular momentum is then written as angular momentum of the center of mass plus angular momentum of the rotating object about that center of mass. So now you can start seeing the similarity with the theorem that we stated earlier, right? And now again, what we said is, since here we were only mainly interested in looking at motion along or the angular momentum and torques along the axis of rotation, right? So only in one particular direction, I can take the Lz component of this total angular momentum, and then this becomes r cross m vcm z component. So Lz is z component of this plus z component of this, right? And it's a bit of algebra. However, when we started this topic, this is what we tackled first, and we found out. So you can start with the analysis for the conical pendulum, right? And then maybe try to develop it from there. However, we know that a z component of this, so sum over the z component of angular momentum of individual parts of a rigid body about that center of mass, right? We know how to write this. So we wrote it down, and finally for the fixed axis rotation, we had this kind of expression. Lz could be written as I0 omega, where now omega is the angular velocity about the center of mass, and I0 is the moment of inertia about the center of mass. And for any general motion of a rigid body where we are looking for angular momentum along the fixed axis, we can break down the entire motion in terms of motion of the center of mass and motion about the center of mass. So this is an important result which you should keep in mind. And now what we'll do is we'll take an example to just see the applicability of this, or how do we get Lz by straightforward plugging in this expression if we know that the system is such that it satisfies all the approximations or all the conditions that we require to use this expression. Okay. So let's take an example. And the example is rather simple, right? All we are doing is we are taking a disk, right? So this is basically angular momentum of a rolling disk, right? So a disk is rolling down the x-axis, right? This is its center of mass. It's going with velocity v. So This is also equal to then the VCM, right? So it's in the x direction, it's going with this velocity. It also has an angular, since it's rolling, it also has angular speed or angular velocity, which is omega, right? And the convention omega with the convention that anti-clockwise rotation is positive, clockwise rotation is negative, will give us sign for omega, right? And it's going down in this direction. Let's say the disk has a radius, let's take it r here, or to avoid confusion, let's call it b, because then r we can use as a position coordinate, right? And now we have to analyze motion of this disk, or we have to find out the angular momentum of this rolling disk about this origin O. So we can find out the center of mass coordinate, let's call it r, right? And now we know that for this disk, to get the angular momentum and especially the z component, so angular momentum about the axis of z direction, we can use this expression. So let's try to do that. And if we do this, let's write down what is the angular momentum for the disk. Okay. So one is the angular momentum about the center of mass. So I'll call it LO, or I'll call it LCM. And this, so the z component, we're already in the z component, and we say that this is nothing but ICM omega, right? And in this case, this will be minus ICM omega, because the sense of rotation is clockwise. Okay. And then what is my ICM? It's a disk, so half m b square omega, right? So that is one component for this rotation. So along this axis, along the center of mass, the disk is simply rotating, and we know what is its angular momentum along this direction, right? So this is the z component of angular momentum. What is the angular momentum of center of mass? Right? This term. So r cross m VCM z component for this disk. Again, I will leave this as an exercise, but this will come out to be mv square omega, right? And to calculate this, all you need is this r vector and this VCM vector, which, looking at this diagram, right, we can find out this. So we can write down r as some, let's say, n instant, some distance x. So this will be x b 0. The center of mass moves at a specific height 0, and VCM vector is nothing but v 0 0. Okay? So using this, one can show that this component, this part, is minus mv square omega, and now if we add that, then total Lz is minus half mv square omega minus mv square omega. So this is equal to minus of 3 half mv square omega, right? So that is the total angular momentum of a rolling disk along one of the coordinate axes, right? Look here, observed from the origin point O, right? Okay, and please remember this result, because we are soon going to use it in another example, right? However, for this system, we can calculate the total angular momentum simply by using these equation. Okay. Now what we can do is, once we establish that in case of angular momentum, the motion can be separated into motion of the center of mass and motion of the object around that center of mass, we can have a similar proof, or we can use a similar analysis to get analogous results for describing torque and the total kinetic energy of total kinetic energy for motion, where translation and rotation both are involved. Right? So I am not going to go over the proofs. However, I will just state the result. So the total torque, and you can see that the proofs are rather similar on the similar lines. So the total torque for such motion can again be written as, so torque about the center of mass I0 alpha, and again it's a z component, so along the along the axis of rotation, and r cross f, that is the torque on the center of mass about the origin, about the chosen origin. Similarly, the kinetic energy, right, and now here total kinetic energy will be half the rotational kinetic energy about the center of mass plus the kinetic energy of center of mass, mv square, where v is then the velocity of the center of mass. And we can extend this, to write down the work energy relation for this general motion. So let's say for this motion, because it's general but it's not the most general, we are still sticking to a fixed axis, so we still fixed axis rotation plus translation. However, we can now write down the work energy theorem, which then says that WBA is equal to minus sign, no, integral of theta 1 theta 2. So the work done for rotational motion, right? So because we already have the work energy theorem for translation motion, is then tau d theta, right? And again here tau z d theta. So because it's again a fixed axis rotation, tau d theta is nothing but half I0 omega, well, 2 square minus half I0 omega 1 square, where theta 1 and theta 2 are the angular coordinates, so going from one location to another, and omega 1 omega 2 are the angular speeds if there is a change in the angular velocity while going from location 1 to location 2. So then this is the analogous form of this work energy relation, and then the difference of this is equal to the work done by the in the rotational motion, right, which could be either because of which could either come from the system or it could be due to external force applied.